Hi guys, feel free to like and subscribe if you're getting something out of this content. And then if you're interested in private coaching for trauma, complex PTSD, narcissistic abuse recovery, I'm not a therapist, but I am a coach, so I can help you point you in some directions to get some resources and help you organize a game plan. In this video, what I'm going to go over is steps to heal, some potential steps you can do to help you to heal a trauma bond. So one thing you can do is first of all, what's a trauma bond? Trauma bond is typically a bond that is between typically an empath or a codependent, or you don't always have to be an empath or a codependent, but sort of a regular person that's in a relationship with a toxic person. And not that codependents aren't toxic, because they are. There's a level of toxicity with codependence. But if you're trying to break a trauma bond with somebody who is high on who has narcissistic tendencies or sociopath or psychopath, these can be very difficult bonds to break. These relationships are addictive. They can be quite traumatic for somebody, especially if they're an empath or a codependent. So one thing you can do is you can make a commitment to yourself to live in reality and get out of the fantasy of what you hoped it was going to be, the fantasy of what you thought it was, the fantasy of who you thought this person was. Step into reality, take a hard look at the truth and get out of the fantasy. Remind yourself that you have made a commitment to live in truth. You are no longer going to live in la la land fantasy. Live in real time. Get out of the past, get out of the future, let go of what could have happened in the future, what you wish was going to happen in the future. Let go of the idea that this person is going to change or be something different. Look at how they have treated you and accept that reality. Notice how much you have compromised your truth, how much you have compromised your self-respect, how much you have compromised your self-worth to help maintain a toxic relationship. Write down a list of what actually happened. And I know this may be sort of going into the past, but this is not so you will stay in the past or ruminate. This is to help you to get out of your fantasy. What actually happened? What did this person do? Did they lie to you? Did they gaslight you? Did they manipulate you? Did they refuse to communicate like an adult? Did they use silent treatment? When you ask them questions, did they stonewall? Did they refuse to communicate with you? Did they withhold sex? Did they withhold intimacy? Did they withhold information? Did they financially abuse you? Pay attention. Pay attention, write down a list of the reality. Did they verbally abuse you? Did they emotionally abuse you? Did they psychologically abuse you, physically abuse you, or verbally abuse you? Write down the list. And the reason why we're doing that, again, is not to stay stuck in the past. It's not to ruminate. It's not to enact revenge. Has nothing to do with them. It is so you can get into reality and get out of your fantasy, your movie projector that you have, thinking that this person's going to change if only I love them properly, if only if I say it the right way. Like, look at the truth instead of the fantasy. Pay attention to your emotions. Stop waiting and hoping for the future change in this individual. Stop it. Get into reality. Make decisions. Another way to help break the trauma bond is to make decisions that support radical self-care. Do not make decisions that are going to hurt you. This goes for emotional relapses as well. If you find yourself feeling weak or depressed, do not beat yourself up. Practice beautiful and radical self-compassion coupled with personal responsibility. Accept responsibility for your part, not their part, your side of the street. Practice radical self-responsibility, but coupled with radical self-care and compassion. Don't beat yourself up for not seeing the truth. Don't beat yourself up for making mistakes in the past. Live in the present, live in the now. And what can you do now to do incredible self-care? Can you exercise? Can you reach out to supportive friends? Can you build a spiritual community? Can you start focusing on life goals? Do what you can. Are you eating well? Are you getting enough water? really incredible, loving self-preservation and self-care. Take full responsibility for your own life. Your happiness is entirely dependent on you. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Stop relegating the responsibility of your happiness onto other people. Happiness is an inside job. It's your job to figure out what your needs are and to start meeting them. Remind yourself that you do not need to be perfect in order to be loved. And life is a journey. This is a school. This is a human school. We are learning in this human school. We are not here to, be perfect. Anne Lamott says, she's a great writer. She says that perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor. It will keep you cramped and insane your entire life. There's no such thing as perfection. Strive for excellence, absolutely. But this perfectionism where you beat yourself up when you're less than perfect, welcome to humanity. There's 7 billion of us on the people. None of us are perfect. We're all just walking each other home, and we make mistakes, and it's okay. Learn from your mistakes. Let's see. Okay, live one. Yeah, so we're all works in progress. Life is a journey. Stop beating yourself up about the past. Move on. Forgive yourself. Practice self-compassion. Live one day at a time, in the moment, with one decision at a time. We tend to get caught up, or a lot of people get caught up in black and white thinking, all or none thinking. Like if you say to yourself, I must never talk to this toxic person again. And if I do, then I'm a failure and I've messed up and I'm so weak and I'm a loser. Don't do that to yourself. Do not shame yourself. You might relapse and talk to them or reach out to them because you're wanting empathy from somebody who hurt you. That's normal. It's pretty normal to do that. Don't beat yourself up. Don't shame yourself. Try to get away from the black and white thinking. And, although your relationship might have been an unhealthy one, you don't need to beat yourself up by shaming yourself about what not knowing what you didn't know. You don't know what you know until you know it. Start to feel your true emotions. Practice RAIN. Recognize, acknowledge, investigate, and nurture. Recognize what the feeling is, acknowledge the feeling, investigate what's really behind the feeling, and then nurture yourself. Whenever you are away from the toxic manipulator, you might, in the beginning of trying to break the trauma bond, you might feel this urge to reach out to them for reassurance or for empathy or for explanation or for closure or for support. Instead of doing that, consider getting in touch with your true feelings. Sit down, write them out. Free writing, write your feelings. This is how I'm feeling. And you can say something like, I'm feeling sad. I'm missing this person right now, but I know that they are bad for me because they betrayed me. They lied to me. They cheated on me. And now I'm going to learn how to manage my own feelings around this and not go to somebody for empathy who has none for me, who's clearly demonstrated a profound lack of empathy for me. You can use these mantras. I will no longer go to someone for empathy who has none for me. I will no longer go to someone for closure who will not provide it. I will no longer go to the narcissist or the sociopath for anything. Stop expecting anything from them and stop expecting them to change in order for you to be okay. Start working on you being okay, independent of what anyone else says or does outside of yourself. It's your job to learn how to regulate, manage, and heal yourself. I recognize that they cause trauma. I recognize that as a child, you probably had some parents that caused trauma. That's very true. The original source of the trauma was outside of you, but your job is to learn how to live in the present and how to manage your own emotions now, because nobody else is going to do it for you. I'm sorry that they implanted that in you. I'm sorry that they caused you trauma. I'm sorry that you were brutalized in that way, but your job now is to learn how to move past the trauma, how to heal from it, and how to manage your emotions around it, and how to thrive. Because they're not going to do it for you. That's the harsh truth. So you can say to yourself, I will be kind and empathetic to myself. I will operate in radical self-compassion, and I will operate and engage in reciprocal relationships. I will no longer allow myself to be in one-sided, non-reciprocal relationships. Learn to grieve. Even if the relationship was toxic, you can still honor the loss of the person that you thought they were and the important part that they played in your life. It is absolutely okay for you to feel sadness and grief around this truly profound loss. Absolutely. Understand. Another thing is to break this trauma bond is to understand the hook. What is the hook? What hooked you in? How did they hook you? Well, identify exactly what you were losing rather than the fantasy of what you thought it was. Your partner may have convinced you that they were going to fulfill some deep unmet need. Once you can identify what this unmet need is, you can start to meet that need for yourself, and you can start to properly grieve this loss and the idea that that person is never going to meet that need for you. They never were capable of it. It's not even their job. It's not an outside job. Happiness is an inside job. Grieving is a beautiful way of letting go. It's like, I let go. I am allowing myself to grieve. I am allowing myself to be sad. I am allowing myself to grieve the loss of what I thought this was, the loss of my fantasy, the loss of who I thought they were. It is okay to allow yourself to go through the grieving process. And then start to build healthy connections with people who can engage in reciprocity, people who have empathy, who are not entitled, who are not exploitative. Start to build relationships with people that are honest, with people that are direct, with people that are reliable, consistent, dependable, people that are kind, not with manipulators, not with people who are using manipulation, devaluing, who engage in idealization, devaluation, and discard. No longer be in relationships with people that do not understand the concept of reciprocity. Absolutely do not. Notice the people in your life that are able to show loving concern, kindness, goodwill, respect, and who treat you with dignity and grace. And then treat them the same way. I think we give, with the qualifier of being in toxic relationships and normal healthy relationships, like we give and we receive. It's a two-way street. It's reciprocal. It doesn't mean everyone does exactly the same things, but we give and we receive. That's how we operate, right? And then build your own life. Start to take steps, tiny steps. Start dreaming and planning for the future out of this relationship. And I'm not suggesting that you live in the future. I want you to try to live in the present. But it's okay to start having dreams about what the future would look like, without the narcissist. Consider going back to school, starting a new career, go find a spiritual community, maybe go to church or go to a recovery group or go to a ashram or whatever your personal spiritual beliefs are. Learn a new hobby, start to engage in, what does a future look like without this person in my life, and start to have some dreams and figure out what your dreams are. Plan your future free of this toxic entanglement, okay? Without this addictive relationship. Write down a list of bottom line behaviors. They could be something like this. I will not sleep with someone who does not respect my boundaries. I will not sleep with someone who is verbally abusive or calls me names. I will handle my own finances and not relegate that responsibility to other people or give my power away. I will not get into discussions with someone when I'm feeling desperate or obsessive and I need them to do change in order for me to be okay. I will learn to manage my own feelings without putting that onto others. I will not make others responsible for my feelings. I will not sleep with someone who is sleeping with other people or who is using porn when I've clearly communicated that I have a problem with that. I will not sleep with them anymore. Or, whatever your bottom line behaviors are, these are going to be different for each individual, but figure out what they are and then don't go below your bottom line behaviors. I will just be very clear on what they are. And most important, in order to break this trauma bond, is for you to really get the focus, take it off of them, take it off of the external and start putting it back on you. Stop expecting them to change in order for you to be okay. You are okay. It's your job to build your internal self. And I'm going to just leave with a little story that one of my mentors mentioned. I've said this before in a video, but I'm going to say it again. A narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, toxic person, they're like a pigeon. There's this tree. The pigeon sits in the tree. Lots of pigeons sit in the tree. Every time they sit in the tree, they shit. That's just what they do. Pigeons sitting in the tree, shitting. That's what they do. And if you're staying in a relationship with one of them, it's like with a narcissist, it's like this. You are sitting under the tree. The pigeons are doing what they've always done, what they did before you ever came along, what they continue to do, and they're shitting because they're sitting in the pigeon tree and they're shitting. And you're sitting under that pigeon tree and you're shaking your fist at them, stop shitting on me. Why are you shitting on me? Why are you doing this to me? Right? And like your choices, like you chose to sit under the tree. And I'm not saying, if you were in a relationship with a real manipulator that you knew that you were in it, because you probably didn't. But at some level, when you're on these forums, you've come to recognize that you're in a relationship with somebody who's toxic. And if that is true, then your job is to get up, stand up, and walk out from under the pigeon tree. They're going to continue to do what they do, which is shit when they're sitting in the tree. That's just what the pigeons do. You get to choose if you no longer want to sit under that line of manure or whatever it is that birds poop. So sorry about that ridiculous story, but it's just an analogy for get out from under the tree and stop being, getting the shrapnel. Like, you're getting hit by shrapnel. You're just collateral damage. They're doing what they've always done, what they did before you, what they're going to continue to do the rest of their lives. That's just what they do. Your job is to get out of it and get away from them and no longer engage in non-reciprocal, non-loving, non-healthy, non-respectful relationships. Only allow people in your life that are going to engage in reciprocity, love, respect, kindness, and decency and honesty. So hope this helps you guys to help break the trauma bond. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.